Hello YouTube fans, here again, and I thought I'd do this one, the last of Roger Moore's appearance as James Bond, as it comes to the 85 Action Marathon. I say it again, the last appearance by Roger Moore as James Bond. At the time, Roger Moore was in his late 50s, he was a bit long beyond the truth of being Bond, and he felt it was just time to move on. But at that time, I mean, a lot of people said it's time to move on, Roger Moore, you're getting a bit too past playing a role like that, and it's time to move on. So we decided to do one more, that being A View to a Kill. And it's one of these, it's really an action film, because some of the early Bond films of Roger Moore, I love. Live and Let Die, I love the action scenes, you know, the Mad Voodoo Doctor, the agitators, the crocodiles, the scene where the sharks under the water, the bit with the epic get my friends there, the big epic boat chase scene. That boat chase scene is brilliant. Man with the Dolgen done, alright, going to do the comedy music bit, but the bit with that car jumps over that bit. The Spy Who Loves Me, the Hotel Lotus, the villain Jaws with the big metal teeth. I can name loads and loads of Bond movies Roger Moore did, which is totally action-packed. This, on the other hand, I would have to say it's average. I'd have to say, in the action department, it's average. The villain, played by Christopher Walker, he is a damn good actor. I say it again, a damn good actor, and he's barely in the film. And I don't feel, compared to most of the other villains, whether it would be Christopher Lee, or the villain in Live and Let Die, or let's think of other well-known villains. You know what I mean? There's loads of other well-known villains. Even the one in Octopus was more friendly. In this, Christopher Walken, his date when he does the nasty scenes, I just wish there was more of him in it. Now, who would give Dave Jones something? Dave Jones is the ally of the film. I'll say it again. And Tanda Sandler's, if I pronounce her name right, may she rest in peace. She's beautiful, but to me, it comes to toss when Roger Moore's getting off with Tanda Sandler's, who was in that era, was in the late 70s. He was pushing 60. It makes Roger Moore come across being a dirty old man. I'm expecting the scene, you know, in Steptoe and Son, the one that played the son, may he rest. I'm expecting him to pop along as a ghost form and say, "You dirty old man." Seriously, it comes to look like some middle-aged fibbing granddad trying to get it off with a girl long enough to be his thinking granddaughter. There's no disrespect to Roger Moore, because even Roger Moore felt he was along the truth at that time, and he was. But it's not a bad film on the fact there's a lot of things going for it. Christopher Walken, I wish there was more in it. I do know there's a few deleted scenes with him in it, but even then it's not a lot to run home about. And you've got the well-known song with the well-known 80s band, that being Duran Duran. It's funny enough, not long after they sang View to a Kill, they split up. They only made the comeback again, I say, about in the early 90s. But they sort of split up during that era. But yeah, you had Duran Duran with the well-known song A View to a Kill, which tells a bit of history about that song. Was in America, it was a #1, which was very funny for any Bond song to get a #1. The only ever one that ever made history to ever get a #1 was Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger. So it made history in America. That Duran Duran song from A View to a Kill was a #1 hit, you know, dance into the fire. So you get the opening anyway. You got Roger Moore, he's on the ski soaps. The only thing with this film is there's so much two-way stringing in it. He's on the ski soaps, right? And he's fighting the Russians. Compared to the scene in the ski soap and the opening of The Spy Who Loves Me, didn't think it was that action-packed. Unlike For Your Eyes Only, where he's getting chased after and he's on that motorbike and they've got the bikers chasing him and he's on that ski soap. The music in it, everything was so action pumping. In this, I could take it or leave it. You got the Beach Boys song. To be dead on the elbow. I'm not going to do the rest, I can't remember the big lyrics. But he's riding along and it just started to be comedy at that bit. I do like the dirty he's trying to get it off with, and that was only because he appeared in a small scene in Octopus, and you might remember the one there after this being the beautiful next door neighbour in the classic comedy horror film House. The one who the neighbour fancies. That was being House. She he's in the scene where Roger Moore says, "Oh, couple of days before to Santa," and he sips a fur tote, and then you got the song "Future a Kill" starts up. I do think the story's interesting though, I will give it that, because they've got these mica tips, right? And it's sort of like the old thing, guy. You got one that once who used to be with the Russians, that being Christopher Walken, and you got the idea he's a psychopath, right? Experiment German warfare, he became a psychopath. There's more to it than that. And I do know the fire, it was called Tipton Fire. It was, or something like that, was a real name of a real trumpeter. And they had to have the rights to use their brand name. So you get that in the opening. So I do like that little touch. So you got Bond on a mission as usual, and he meets Sandra Sanders. I noticed that they're no longer with us. The beautiful girl that appeared in Beastmaster. She appeared in the later series of Charlie's Angels. And, you know what I mean, at first he's not interested, and I think it is laughable. Come on, Roger Moore, you're old enough to be a fucking dad, mate, come on. But, you know, it's typical Bond, he's tatting it up. And I do know at the time, Roger Moore had a lot of operations when he was doing this. He had weak eyes, and he had to have an operation with his eyes to make his eyes better. And if you ever remember any of the Bond movies, he had like a birthmark there on the side of his face. He had that removed. So if you notice, that's not on his face. It's because he's had that removed. So he had a lot of operations. But you can see at this point, the action scenes you could barely do. You could practically see there was stunt doubles, or there was two-way film to the bit where he's on a fire engine. And he's trying to knock this car out. And you can see two-way film. There's that much two-way film in this. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So you're going into it for action. You're not really going to get a lot of action. But I look at this one as more of a filler. Like Dr. No was more of a filler. I can think of it from Russell Love was more of a filler. Wasn't really that much action in it. The first couple of the early Bond movies that Connery did were more fillers. They were more fillers. So at the time, Roger Moore said this is going to be the last one. You know, he was almost pushing 60 when you think about it, when this was being made. You know what I mean? He was almost pushing 60. So you don't get that much of that. I do like Dace Jones, but again, I wish she was in it that much. I mean, if it comes to it, I wish Christopher Walken did more friendly stuff. There's a bit in it where this guy's kind of put a bomb, and he's trying to blow up this thing, and he gets caught, and they throw him in this big propeller thing. That's too soon, but you want to see it more firing. Wait a couple of days later until you get to License to Kill, and watch and see what that film does. Especially on the uncut one, he's feeding people to sharks. He's cutting people's hearts open. You name it, he is vicious. That's the only bit I would say he's firing before dying at a peril. The top one die off this big air balloon. But he's got to blow up the city. Bond goes on the mission. And again, there's a date scene. He's with Sandra Roberts. He dissolves a bomb. Christopher Walker chases this woman. Roger Moore jumps on this thing, saves the woman, Dace Jones self-sacrifices for some reason, turns into a dud, a bit like in Moonraker, when Jaws turned into a dud die nearly at the end. She self-sacrifices herself, thing blows up, Christopher Walken falls to his death on the American Eye building, whatever you want to call it. Ends with Bond getting it off with his woman, end of movie. And it was also the end of the actress that played Miss Moneypenny and all. I forgot about that. At the time, she decided it was time to move on. So when you get to the next Bond movie, you get another actor playing Bond, that being Timothy Dalton, and you get a younger actress playing Miss Moneypenny. But I don't think it's one of the best of Roger Moore's. It's not because it's the last one he ever appears as Bond. I just felt at the time, even Roger Moore admitted he was getting along the tooth, he was getting a bit past playing that role. Even though 50s to me isn't really that old. I think to me when you're 60s, 70s, that's when you're a bit, you know what I mean? But for that role, for that character, yeah. Because he's at, I mean, he was in good shape, I'll say that. Roger Moore was in good shape, and for his age, he looked pretty good. But even Roger Moore said you had to find younger women to play the Bond girl. When you've got a girl, right, who's in her late 20s, you got Roger Moore who's almost pushing 60. It comes to just being a dirty old man trying to get it on with a young girl. Now, I do know young girls go for the older man, but reality, Bond gets all these women. Even Dace Jones in one scene jumps into bed with Roger Moore, and I'm thinking, oh God. And You know what I mean? To me, I can see why. I can see why the next Bond movie they wanted to have another actor. I can see why. But it's not a bad film. If you're going into it for action, compared to the other one to more Bond films, you're not going to get it. If you're going into it for a good story and more of a thriller, you get that. You get that. There's a lot of deleted scenes. There's one scene where Roger Moore comes out of the jailhouse and seems because he got arrested halfway through the film. I can see why that's deleted. With the deleted scenes, I can have a diff or take because they were in the film. They're not really a lot to run home about. Unlike some deleted scenes, which I wish was in the film. But it's not a bad one. It's just, I just felt For Your Eyes Only, if that was going to be the last one Roger Moore was in, I felt that had more of a bang to it. That's all I'm saying. I don't hate the movie. I mean, I said there's a lot of good things going for it. Christopher Walken, I just wish he was in it a lot more. Jace Jones as the villain, who we all know played in Job the Destroyer, one year before this. And same year, he played in a vampire movie called Fab. Or Fab, they're fans of Fab. So Jace Jones was definitely making a name for himself after the music business. And the theme song by Duran Duran. That's the only things I would say is going for it. Other than that, though, I would just have to give it an average rating. I don't hate the film. I just said the good things about it. But if I want to look at one of my favourites of Bond movies and want some more, I'll go to The Spy Who Loves Me, the first one he ever appeared in, Live and Let Die, or For Your Eyes Only. But it's not a bad doing it, but I would just have to say it's average. Into them. See you later.